Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more Legacy action. Today for our midweek meta deck, we are not playing a deck that won a tournament, we are playing a deck that came second in a challenge. This is AFX's Aluren deck. Now the reason I want to do this is I've noticed that a lot of my videos just doing midweek meta decks aren't actually doing great numbers. People don't seem to be watching them and vibing with them very much when I'm just playing like a pretty stock deck, you know, like a show and tell deck or whatever. And people have seen those decks a lot and they don't really want to watch more of that sort of thing. So instead what I'm going to do now is use our midweek meta deck slot to pick up decks I think that you should be aware of in the metagame that have done okay in tournaments. So we're looking at decks that are top 8 at a tournament, not necessarily won it. And then we can just sort of look at a bit more interesting lists that you can be aware of and find a bit more enjoyable to watch playing. So yes, this is AFX's Aluren build. And Aluren completely changed. This is a new build of Aluren. Before they were doing things with like Cavern Harpy and all that sort of jazz. But now it's a very different beast. It's taking the omni-tell deck that existed where it's just trying to show and tell in Omniscience and then play a bunch of cantrips until you get to Emrakul and Atraxa and win the game. We're doing that in our deck too, but we also have this Aluren package. So what Aluren does is allows any player to cast creature spells with mana value 3 or less for free and with flash. So the glue that makes this all work is Formidable Speaker. This is a 3 mana 2/4 creature. When it enters, you may discard a card from your hand. This is any card as well, not just creatures. Search your library for a creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and you can pay 1 to untap another target permanent, which doesn't come up that often. But the ability is what we're playing it for. So if we have Aluren in play, we play Formidable Speaker, we discard any card in our hand, go and get Acererak the Archlich. This is free to play under Aluren. And then if we haven't completed the specific dungeon, Tomb of Annihilation, this bounces. And then we can replay it for free. So if we're going to any other dungeon, we can just loop through that dungeon an infinite number of times. And one of the dungeons does allow you to drain life for 1 somewhere in it. So this is just an infinite combo that drains your opponent's life out. We can also, if we have Omniscience in play, do the exact same line. So Formidable Speaker, go get Acererak and win the game that way. So we've got 2 different ways of winning now, which is always the problem that the omni-tell decks had, where they were all in on trying to resolve their show and tell, and if they didn't have that, they didn't do anything, but we just have more ways of paying ourselves off here. So we can show and tell into Emrakul, Atraxa, or the Omniscience. Once the Omniscience is played, that's where the rest of the deck can kick in, where we go stock up, ponder, brainstorm, find the things to just combo off and win the game. We do have some Force of Vigor to protect and some Veil of Summers. We've got a couple of Surveil lands in there that we can fetch up. We've got ourselves a 1-off Boseiju, some Soul lands, Lotus Petal, all the stuff you'd expect really. This deck is not that popular at the moment. It's only like 1.7% of the meta, but I think it's a real contender and probably is the best build of omni-tell out there. And I expect this to raise up in popularity and play rate. So I think it's worth getting on the channel and letting you lovely people see what it's all about. The sideboard, we've got some stuff to protect our combo in the form of like Defense Grid and Veil of Summers. Flusterstorm kind of comes under that heading as well. We've got like Blue Blast, which can also protect like the show and tell from Pyroblasts. Consign Memory is just a really useful spell against a lot of the meta. It can answer some hate pieces that maybe we don't really want to see in play. Things like Disruptor Flute and Sewer Resistance, which Force of Vigor can also nail. Then we've got, you know, Harbinger of the Seas, some Graveyard Hate between Solgar Lantern and Grafdigger's Cage. And yeah, just a bunch of like sideboard cards that you'd expect. Carpet Flowers is the big one. This really helps against the Days Wasteland decks and allows us to be able to cast our spells. Alright, that's what we're playing today. I'm quite looking forward to this one. I think the deck is really sweet. It's such a cool design. I didn't see this coming as a deck that would be built when I saw Formidable Speaker, and I'm glad this has found a place. Like, this isn't seeing play in like the Cradle Control decks or anything else. It's just a whole new deck that got built around it, and I think that's really sweet. Alright, here we go with AFX's second place challenge deck. Like and subscribe, and let's combo some people out. If you've been watching my content and thinking, I'd like to play some Legacy too, then check out 3for1 Trading, one of Europe's leading Magic the Gathering retailers. They have weekly offers and upload new cards every Wednesday. And it's not just Legacy stuff they sell. They have a beautiful selection of vintage and old school cards too. Support from sponsors like 3for1 Trading make it possible for me to put out videos and help keep Legacy alive, so why not give them some love? Click their link in the description below and use my code COW3 to enjoy free worldwide shipping on your first order over €500. Alright, our opening hand doesn't have any mana that works. This is an easy mulligan. Okay, we just need to find a show and tell or an Aluren. Ideally, a show and tell, I think, is the easiest route. But they both work, really. So we'll keep this at bottom 1 of the forces. We probably end up pitching this Omniscience to the Force if we have to. I think I'm going to save this fetch down. Like, we could go and fetch to get a Surveil land here. But I think this fetch is more useful as Brainstorm shuffle effect. Alright, we've got Tundra, so we're probably going to have to play through some amount of counter spells. A Tamiyo. Do I want to play against Tamiyo, or are we going to just try and force our own thing? I think we're going to try and force through our own thing and ignore the Tamiyo, which might be a disaster, but I guess we'll find out soon. I'll play this land out and I will Brainstorm. Right, we found the Aluren, that's good news. I don't really want this Hedge Maze because I was kind of going to go and fetch it. So I think we'll put this back and probably the second Formidable Speaker can go. And then we're just looking for the mana to get the Aluren on the stack here. Hopefully we can win before the Tamiyo gets to leverage the clues. A Wasteland. That makes our Hedge Maze a lot worse as a pickup. I would like them to tap out here, but I don't think they're going to. Yeah, Brainstorm. So we're going into the ticking time bomb mode of Tamiyo, where it can win them the game in a few turns if we don't manage to get through it. That does put a bit of a clock on this game for us. We just need mana. The problem is the land on top of our deck is not a good one, so we're going to have to shuffle and probably get a forest here because we need green for the Aluren. And now we're under this Tamiyo ultimate pressure. I don't think we're in a position where we can just go and get Hedge Maze here and play it slowly. Because our second green source is going to have to be one that can be wastelanded unless it's a Lotus Petal. Another Omniscience is pretty bad. I was kind of hoping for a land to cast a stock up or any of our cantrips. Yeah, this might just be one of those non-games that happens when Tamiyo enters the battlefield. Like, we could have forced this on turn 1, so we did have some agency. I made the choice to try and defend our combo with our Force. Especially since the card we would have had to have pitched would have been the Omniscience. And that would take the show and tell line away from us. So I figured, okay, let's just ease ourselves in a little bit. But our opponent did not want that to happen. They just wanted to go jam his Tamiyo and start doing things. So I suspect our opponent's deck is just like a pretty stock blue-white Felia list with like Quantum Riddler and stuff. Okay, we found a tropical island. I'm going to cast a stock up. This is probably going to meet a counter spell, or they just won't care about it. That's almost worse for us. We're definitely taking a land. Are we just taking 2 lands because we're probably getting wasted here? The problem is this Tamiyo is going to draw them their whole library very, very soon. Do I think I can push through 20 cards? Probably not. So we probably just have to go next turn and hope we don't get wastelanded. That kind of sucks for us. If we take this Veil of Summer, then if we draw into a Soul Land, we can maybe get a turn after. Alright, I'll take these things. I'm not expecting this game to be one that we can win. Because they're going to crack this clue, so they're going to have 7 cards in hand and a Planeswalker that is threatening to just win the game next turn. All they have to do is protect this Queen for one more turn. We don't have any way of pressuring it. Like, we could have played the Formidable Speaker as a way of pressuring the Tamiyo. I don't think that is a great use of our time and mana. Maybe they'll blink their own Tamiyo here. Very unlikely, but we can hope. So now we're probably getting wastelanded. If they don't wasteland us and we draw, like, I guess we can't do the Veil of Summer, can we? Because we need the green, which is a bit awkward. Like, the Veil of Summer is really good at protecting Show and Tell, but very poor at protecting Aluren, because Aluren is more expensive, and also the green considerations mean you need triple green. Alright, so now they're going to attack us, blink the Quantum Riddler, go up to 6 cards in hand, have this Tamiyo ready to go. So they're blinking out Riddler. I don't think we're winning this one, are we? We need them to not waste land for some reason. Let's just scoop it up. Okay. Maybe we were supposed to cancel this. Like, obviously made a choice, and maybe the choice was wrong. But we made a choice for reasons. Let's go for this sort of protective stuff. Flusterstorm is an interesting one to protect on our turn as well. We don't think we want anything else here. So there's potentially 6 cards that are interesting, but sideboarding with this deck doesn't feel very easy. Because where are the bits of fat that we can trim? Maybe we're getting rid of forces and we're just boarding in better sort of counters, and maybe Lotus Petals are just worse than these carpets since they're a wasteland deck. I could believe that. Let's try this. We have 1 mana source, but not really anything to do with it. I think we have to mulligan this. This is better. We can win the game here if we can get the mana. Are we... I guess this means we're probably putting back the Omniscience and just trying to dig for lands to play the Aluren. We're also playing on our basics to begin with, which is kind of cool. Alright, I'll play out this land. Are we going to see a turn 1 Tamiyo again? probably going to be a Tamiyo or a Ponder, I would imagine. It's a Ponder. That's good news for us. I would rather see that than Tamiyo. I don't think we're brainstorming this turn. I'm going to go to our turn and then try and do a brainstorm. See if we can find a fetch land. We did find a fetch land. But it's kind of awkward here unless we put back the forest and then we can fetch it with the Prismatic Vista. Well, we probably need to find some protection along the way as well. So definitely putting back this Atraxa, I think. We don't know if they're going to have wastelands. We definitely want to shuffle here. Do we just put back this forest and then go and fetch it up with a Vista anyway? That makes sense to me. Because that's the land we need to have in play. And then we play this one out at the last minute so that we can dodge any wastelands our opponent may deploy. Alright. They have Felia mana over there, but they're doing something else. Stoneforge Mystic. This probably gets the Meteor Sword. Yeah, there it is. Let's crack this and go and get ourselves that forest that we just put on top. A stock up. A stock up is nice. I think I'm willing to invest in the stock up this turn in an attempt to find some protective elements. We can play around Daze here, which I suspect our opponent is running. Like 2-drop threats plus Wasteland in your deck. You're likely to have Daze over there. We're clearly representing a Veil of Summer as well. So they're going to be very reluctant to do anything about this. Problem we have here is the Meteor Sword can just take out our green source and it becomes more difficult to cast this Aluren. But they might just go after the Ancient Tomb to take us off of maximum mana. Okay, we're going to be losing something. Putting this in now to take out our land. Like, there's an option to try and take out whatever combo piece we put in. Oh, they're taking out the island. Oh, that wasn't the one you wanted, opponent. They got 3 cards in hand. Do I think we go for it here or not, is the question. Is it getting better? Maybe. Veil of Summer. Now, we could just jam the Aluren right now, and if it works, we just win the game. If it doesn't, then we could be in some trouble. 3 cards in our opponent's hand. They've already used Force. They pitched a Brainstorm to it, so they can't dig for more answers. That's what they've got. What am I expecting here? The problem is, if we play out this Tropical Island and try and Brainstorm and our opponent has a Wasteland, that sets us so far back. I think we're going to jam and then maybe try and rebuild if it doesn't work. Okay, they do have a second Force. So now they're out of resources. They're just going to slap this Meteor Sword on their guy and start turning it sideways. So we've got a few turns to rebuild. But I just don't like the odds of what if we just cast this Brainstorm and then our opponent wastelands us and takes out one of our relatively few green sources here. Almost feel like this deck could use a Flooded Grove just to help convert blue into green. I think that might actually be a thing you would want, which is kind of weird. Alright, show and tell, you say. Let's Brainstorm. Well, next turn looks pretty good for us, doesn't it? So next turn we have Omniscience backed by Veil of Summer, as long as we don't get wastelanded. So they're going to play a Felia here. Okay, so this is kind of going to wasteland us, isn't it? Okay, I was hoping that that wasn't the case. I think I've stacked the top of our library the wrong way around as well. I think we're supposed to put the Ponder on top. What do they take out here? Take out our blue source. Yep, that seems good. So I guess it doesn't matter the order we stacked them. Okay, let's just get a creature in. What are we discarding here? It's probably this Veil of Summer. And then we're just going to go and get ourselves another Formidable Speaker. And we're just going to try and assemble a bunch of blockers. Because if they start blinking this so that we can't block with it, then at least they're not blinking the Meteor Sword. But I think what happens here is the Felia, because it's a 3/3 and can just bounce off of this Formidable Speaker, will attack, flicker the Meteor Sword, and we're going to be in heaps of trouble. There's a Wasteland. Alright, I think we're just done here. We're not going to have any lands at the end of this turn. We got absolutely crushed there. That felt like a rough one. Our mana is kind of awkward in our deck for sure. So like the regular omni-tell decks are a mono blue deck just dipping into green. But we are like a fully green deck trying to cast a green-green spell. And having 5 colorless lands and these green-green spells is a little bit awkward to juggle. Let's go to round 2. Okay, round 2 we've got Show and Tell Omniscience. I call that a keep. So we can lead off with a Hedge Maze unless our opponent shows us the signs of us needing to ponder for a specific answer, like a Force of Will for what they're doing. Once upon a time, are you just playing like some green creature deck that we can just steamroller over? I certainly hope so. Now the Show and Tell Omniscience doesn't automatically win the game. Agadine the Undercrypt. Are we just getting killed this turn? Cabal Therapy targeting me. They're going to name Force of Will. Are they killing us this turn though? Why did they take this Chancellor? Was it the only option, I guess, would make sense. This feels like it's an Oops or Spells deck that's running once upon a time. Oops or Spells, one of the very best performing decks in Legacy right now by the numbers. I think it won like over 40% of the events this week. A little bit scary. Okay. I'm going to cast this Ponder because it sees 4 cards. This has to be an orange shuffle. Then I guess we play this one out. And then we're going to cast another Ponder. Any order shuffle. Well, we took a lot of looks to try and find the Force of Will. And now we're just going to die to this. I don't know what other deck plays this selection of 4 cards we've seen other than Oops or Spells. There's obviously a fair few different builds of Oops or Spells kicking around. Alright, here we go. Do you have the mana for this or not? If you don't have the mana, I might be able to win the game. Okay, I guess we don't get to win the game straight away, do we? Because we burned that Lotus Petal. That is awkward for us. Let's Brainstorm. None of this really helps. We don't need a second Formidable Speaker. This is probably not doing anything for us. Back this. Go and get another Tropical Island. Let's cast a Brainstorm. Does any of this matter? Not really. I guess we put back the Vista. No, it's the Hedge Maze and the Ancient Tomb, isn't it? No, the Show and Tell to hide a copy of that on top. Yeah. Our opponent does just kill us this turn, but maybe they want to wait until they have a discard spell, but they know that we can Show and Tell Omniscience, so that probably doesn't work. But our hope is that our opponent plays cautiously. Right, we get to see their build at least, which is one of the reasons I would want to hang on and just see what they're doing, because they're not going to run out of time in a matchup like this. But if we get to have a look at what is going on here. Undersea Informers. We've got enough green stuff in here. They can probably just pivot, rather than pivot onto creatures, they pivot into like the Force of Vigor style cards. Okay. Okay, what helps in a matchup with this? Consign to Memory does do things. Flusterstorm sometimes does things. This is a maybe. We definitely want the Graveyard Hate to get those in. Veil of Summer stops their Carpet of Flowers. I don't know if that's enough, to be honest. Flusterstorm does anything. I think we just have to do things that do anything. I don't think we get to play the Veil of Summers. We probably need to trim on some of our attempts at winning the game here. Although going fast means that we could maybe turn 1 kill our opponent. So I like that as an option for us. We're just getting rid of some cantrips. We're getting rid of the Brainstorm or the Ponder. I think it's actually the Brainstorm, because if we Ponder on turn 1, we want more shots at hitting the Force. Or is it Aluren that goes, because this is a little bit slower? We get to keep in some blue cards like this. Okay, I can see that. Also like Ponder slightly more under Omniscience, because you get to shuffle if the top 3 cards of your library don't win the game. Whereas if you Brainstorm and they don't, then you've just lost the game. This gives us a shot of Pondering for an answer. I don't think that's good enough. I think we can do better. This is not a keepable hand, I don't believe. Like, we're looking for one of our 1-mana Graveyard Hates or a Force of Will our opener. So that's a lot of... That's like, what, 7 cards that we want our opener? So I think we can mulligan towards them. Now, sure, they can just go off on turn 1 with protection sometimes. But I think our best option is to do that. It's quite funny that if we'd have stopped trying to interact with our opponent last game, we would have actually won. Sure, we can keep this one. 2 cards have got to go. That is a pity, though. So we need Force of Will blue card, which we've got. We need Show and Tell, something to put in. We're probably getting rid of this. Are we getting rid of a land? And then just try and spike one of the soul lands. I think that's probably our best bet to win this one. So I think if we can go Force of Will first thing, Show and Tell into Atraxa to stop the second thing, that's pretty good. Now if they Show and Tell in a Balustrade Spy, they can't... I suppose if they don't have any mana, they can't save themselves with Memory's Journey. Right, untap land. So we might be dead this turn, or they might just be hand disrupting us. Let's see what they get off this Once Upon a Time. A Balustrade Spy. Yep. Are we just going to ramp this one out into a Force of Will? Or are we going to disrupt my hand? Or do you already have the Pact of Negation? Misty Rainforest. This gives us a Surveil, which is nice to have. Is it going to be enough? I am skeptical. Another untapped land. Does this mean they have Dark Ritual into Balustrade Spy? Here comes a Chrome Mox. It's going relatively low on resources to get this creature into play. So this makes me think that they don't have a Dark Ritual. Right, the Balustrade Spy is underneath it. Is this 3 mana? And this. Okay, do you have a Pact of Negation? They binned off the Balustrade Spy, so I wouldn't have been surprised if they did. 1 card in hand. Is it another Balustrade Spy? Like, you would surely keep another creature for another attempt. Do we keep this? I guess so. And then I think we are just going to show and tell in our creature and hope our opponent doesn't kill us with what they put in. I think they have another creature though. Because why would you put this under this if you have anything else? Like, they didn't need black mana. They put nothing in. What was that last card in your hand then? Okay, what works here? I will take this Soul Guide Lantern, I guess. We'll just take 2 hate pieces. Soul Guide Lantern and Grafdigger's Cage. We can't take them both, can we? That's not how this works. Sorry, I thought I was resolving a stock up for a second. Do I want this Soul Guide Lantern or do I want this Grafdigger's Cage? Maybe the Cage is better. If we go Cage, the creature we want is probably Formidable Speaker. The instant is the Brainstorm. We get a Polluted Delta. Take an Omniscience. So my brain just randomly thought I was going to be only getting 2 of these. We don't get to play anything else, and our opponent knows we don't have any counter magic. I guess if they had a creature, if it was another Balustrade Spy, it's really awkward to put it in there, because then if we find a counter spell of this and we counter your Memory's Journey, that's it, that's just a game. Alright, we tied the game. Or the match, sorry. Let's go to game 3 here. Do I want to do anything differently? I don't think so. Alright, let's just submit again. We have the Force of Will. We don't have any blue mana. But if we find any blue mana, this hand is good. Is this worth keeping? Is the question. So if we look at our mana base, we've got 19 lands. How many of that's blue? So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Plus 5 is 13. Do we keep this one? This stops the turn 1 send from our opponent. And then we need to draw multiple things for this hand to get better. Maybe it's right to keep this against Zeus. I think I'm going to mulligan because we don't do our own game plan and we do need to actually win the game at some point. We could be punished horribly for not keeping that one, but I don't know if you can keep a hand that is basically just hope that you draw one of your lands that makes blue off the top or else. And it's completely cold to a single Thoughtseize. Although if we're mulliganing low, we're probably going to be cold to Thoughtseize whatever we take here. Nope, we're going to keep going, I'm afraid. No, I think we're just going to lose this one. We're going to 3 cards now. We got nothing. Okay, I guess this is very similar to the first hand we kept. That we could have kept. We just had to force and hope for the best. But yeah, we're not winning this one. The things that Oozle Spells makes you do in a game of Magic the Gathering are very unpleasant. And here we are. Tropical Island, go. Alright, we hit a land drop. That makes all of our cantrips live. Alright, they're just playing out some lands and passing a turn. We have a Brainstorm, so we can hide cards if we want. We can also try and Brainstorm into a land drop right now. I don't think we need to do that. I'm going to try and use this to protect against a hand disruption spell. Although they can't actually keep us off of Force of Will if we just keep these cards in hand. Unless they have Cabal Therapy, and then we're just toast. Ponder. Let's ponder. I like the Soul Guide Lantern a lot. The rest of the cards leave a little bit to be desired. I think the Soul Guide Lantern is good enough to keep. We have double Force of Will because of the show and tell here. So we can answer the first couple of sends, and then we have the Soul Guide Lantern next turn, which can answer another send. We don't know if they've juked into like Chain of Smog combo or whatever. So I guess we're going to have to find out. I would like to counterspell this. Do you have a Pact of Negation here? That's probably our best win condition. Pact of Negation resolves. And now we will force this. If they don't have a second Pact of Negation, they will die in their upkeep. If they don't win with like some other send here, which seems unlikely. Okay, they just had the double send here. Oh, sorry, they had the double protection. So it didn't really matter what we did this game, unfortunately. Unless we mulliganed into one of the artifact hate pieces. Alright, Elvish Spirit Guide, so they're just going to pop this, and that is going to be the game, because they know we've got no cards in hand. Yep. It is what it is. Wizards refuses to ban it, so we occasionally have to play against it. Let's go to round number 3. Alright, this is a turn 2 send. I can keep this on. We can surveil to try and find a piece of counter magic as well. Our opponent, if I remember rightly, used to play a lot of Elves decks, but I don't know what they play now. Alright, out with the Misty Rainforest, and we'll just pass it over. A Once Upon a Time. It feels like a green creature deck. Okay, a Wasteland. We don't care about that. Are you going to see like a Noble Hierarch? Ignoble Hierarch, perhaps? A Green Sun Zenith. It's an Ignoble Hierarch. So our opponent is almost certainly dead here. This is the sort of matchup that we can just crush relatively well. Let's go and get this Hedge Maze. We don't need another one of those. So now our opponent knows what's up. Let's go for a Show and Tell. Put in the Omniscience. Okay. I think I will cast this Atraxa first, just in case something weird happens. Okay, so now we've got a couple of Force of Wills. We're fine here. They've seen the Formidable Speaker here, so they know that the game is over. But I just wanted to try and get some extra stuff, because if we get to cast one spell, because our opponent doesn't have priority to blow this up, but let's say they had like a random main deck Force of Vigor. Very unlikely, but let's say they had something like that. By playing this one out first, it means that even if they blow up the Omniscience, we're still left with this massive Atraxa. Now, not great into the grist necessarily, but it gives us a bunch of resources to rebuild from. Anyway, this is a pretty good matchup, I would imagine. What do we even need? Like, everything here seems great. Like, Cage shuts down their ability to play things like Green Sun Zenith and Natural Order, which is one of the ways they can beat us. Veil of Summer can protect against Hand Disruption. Consign to Memory can hit things like the Disruptor Flute that they might be playing. So these are the cards I'm potentially interested in. Are they better than what's in our deck already? I don't think they are, is the truth of the matter. I think our deck is probably just fine as is for this matchup. Like, Force of Will is just way more flexible than these other things. Yeah, I think we're just going again. Show and Tell Atraxa is reasonable. Not a bad thing to be doing on turn 2, and it probably gives us a send of turn after that is an infinite combo. A Bayou. A Thoughtseize. We're going to lose the Show and Tell here. There it goes. So now it's our turn. We can deploy our Hedge Maze. Try and get a little bit deeper in the deck. And then maybe untap with this Brainstorm to leverage. Do I want a Force of Will? Honestly, I don't think I do. We just go over the top with our combo, and that's all we need to do. I'm potentially 2 turns away from Aluren combo, if we can find the Aluren. A Thoughtseize. They take the Formidable Speaker or the Brainstorm, I think, here. Unless they're worried about us just show and telling in an Emrakul. Okay. Not Emrakul, an Atraxa. So they got rid of our Brainstorm. That makes the most amount of sense. Green Sun Zenith. This is just for a Dryad Arbor because X is 0. That's the only thing you can get. Another Formidable Speaker, you say? Well, we're going into weird mode here. So let's go play this Formidable Speaker to block their guys. I think we get rid of this land here. We just get another Formidable Speaker probably. Just clog up the board and buy ourselves time. Which is an interesting line this deck has. It's not really a game-winning line most of the time. But it is a delaying tactic which ends up being game-winning, if that makes sense. Like, we're very rarely going to win by just attacking with these guys. But we might stop our opponent from winning. Natural Order. So it's their turn to put an Atraxa into play. I see. There it is. So they're almost certainly getting the Wasteland here. Badger Mole Cub, Gaia's Cradle, Grist, Natural Order, Force of Vigor. So took the Cradle over the Wasteland. Okay, I don't think we're beating the Atraxa that easily here. Like, are we just trying to thin our deck? Because this turn they get to Natural Order out a big boy. And that seems like an issue for us. We do have a second Surveil land. So we're definitely doing a second Surveil land. Is it worth me playing 2 life here? I don't think it is. I think we're just going to sadly pass the turn. So we could have paid 2 life to like cycle one of these Formidable Speakers to cycle the other one sort of thing. But I don't think that's worth it. So it's going to make this Bayou into a creature. They're going to play the Cradle. And they're going to sacrifice this Bayou to their Natural Order. And then they're going to get a Kraytooth Behemoth. And then... oh, they're just playing the Grist. That's unexpected. Aluren is our best draw here. Because we can beat the Force of Vigor because everything has Flash. And we have 2 guys as well, so we can just go over the top of it. A Brainstorm. That is 3 looks at Aluren. I will take 3 looks at Aluren instead of 1. We do have Tropical Islands to fetch still. Alright, Brainstorm. It's your time to shine. We found the Aluren, so this should be game here. Let's crack this. Can get the Tropical Island. This is a good reason not to cycle your Formidable Speakers as well. They've got 5 cards in hand. I think they have multiple Force of Vigor. So they Force of Vigor, then we go over the top with another Formidable Speaker. If they have a second Formidable Speaker, then we might be in trouble. So now we're in an awkward spot, because if we play Acererak, they blow up our Force of Vigor. If we pass to them, they just hold open the mana and get us. I think they've actually got us here. We needed them to actually go for this Aluren play, and our opponent didn't go for it. Let's see if they make a mistake and try and Force of Vigor this at end step. I don't think they will. No. Alright. They correctly played around this one. Yeah, that was very well played from our opponent in terms of what they were doing there. We didn't manage to bait them in, unfortunately. Maybe we do want these Grafdigger's cages. What comes out? That's the difficult thing, because so many of our cards are good. Maybe we just don't hold up the Veil of Summers. We just have these cages. I can see that. Like, Thought Seizers and stuff are good against us, but because we have so many payoffs, we can kind of just work through it. I like the cage here. Brainstorm is obviously a powerful spell that gets us where we need to go. I think I'll keep this. I think we probably hold up the Brainstorm here, because I don't care about them Green Sun's anything for a Dried Arbor this turn. But I do care about them Thought Seizing us. So if we can blank that Thought Seize, it's going to feel pretty good. So here we go. Omniscience, Brainstorm, Grafdigger's Cage. Brainstorm is probably what we're going to save on top. We don't need 2 Omniscience. So we can put an Omniscience on top and a Brainstorm. And if they take the Emrakul and they shuffle, we still have the Omniscience. Or we could put like a land and a Brainstorm. But then they'll probably take the Emrakul. And then we shuffle. I can leave the Brainstorm in my hand in case they shuffle. This is a really interesting one, because our opponent knows what they're doing as well. So if we put back like a couple of lands, let's say, and just let them choose from everything, that might actually be our best option, rather than protecting the Brainstorm. They probably just take the Emrakul. They probably just take the Brainstorm there. We can't really let them do that because we want to protect the Brainstorm. So we probably do need to put this on top. And then if they take the Emrakul and shuffle our pile, we're still seeing fresh cards. So we're still kind of getting the shuffle effect that we're hoping to find with the Brainstorm anyway. So they might want to take the Emrakul. They're shuffling away the Show and Tell. But we don't like the 2 cards on top of our library. Well, if we'd have put different 2 cards on top of our library, we wouldn't want them. So by giving them the option of shuffling for the Emrakul. Yep, okay, so we get the shuffle here, so we don't have to draw through them. We lose the ability to dig with the Brainstorm, but the Brainstorm is only going to dig us 1 extra card. Okay, Prismatic Vista. I'll play out this land they know about, and I will play out this Grafdigger's Cage. This is going to stop the Green Sun Zeniths and Natural Orders of the World, which are the scariest thing our opponent can put down. Alright, they're going to take one of our Omnisciences. That's fine, we've already got another one, so that Thoughtseize doesn't really achieve very much. Now, if they pair it with a third Thoughtseize, then it does achieve something. I will play this land they know about. We are 3 lands away from casting an Omniscience the hard way. Don't think that's where we want to be. Allosaurus Shepherd. That's pretty good against our Force of Wills, but the main things we want to Force of Will are basically just the natural orders, really. So I can live with that. This does pump itself. It doesn't pump any of their other guys because none of them are elves. A Boseiju. Not the most exciting. Let's play this Prismatic Vista. I think it's worth holding this Prismatic Vista up for a Brainstorm rather than cracking it for that marginal thinning. I don't think we want to Boseiju anything. Birds of Paradise. Not getting in with the Bayou is interesting. A Misty Rainforest. This has Surveil land application, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Well, we're one land away from hard casting the Omniscience, which is definitely not the position I wanted to be in. Talon Gates. Phasing out the Cub. This is just to get a land into play. Alright, let's crack this Misty Rainforest. And we'll get one of these Hedge Mazes. an Emrakul. How much damage are we taking? Can we just afford to try and hardcast an Omniscience? Is that our best bet right now? I think it honestly is. As sad as that is. So Lotus Petal is our best draw for next turn. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 off the Lotus Petal. They're going to play like an Endurance or something to add some more clock to the board, or what? Or are we just crackling with little guys? Just crackling with little guys. Not a Wasteland, so I like that for us. How much damage are we getting in? Right, the boy was attacking this turn. Force of Will. Not the most useful. I think we play out the City of Traitors, because if we find any mana source, we just go next turn. And we just pass it over. We can Force of Vigor. Sorry, we can Force of Will. Is this creatures or green spells? Green spells. So we could Force of Vigor. Sorry, we could counterspell something like a Disruptor Flute. Which is probably... We can also counterspell a Thoughtseize. Alright, we're on 9. We're taking 4 this turn. We might be taking a lot more. But they can't get anything good off of this. Like, whilst this cage is out. So they have to just... Okay, so this is 5, 6, 7, 8. So they're going to put us to 1. So we can't crack our Prismatic Vista or use our Ancient Tomb. We can still just draw a Show and Tell here. Or Brainstorm into a bunch of stuff. So that we're still live. But this game has turned out very strange. A Force of Will. Alright. Yeah, our hand just didn't come together there. The double Thoughtseize was obviously pretty good. The situation with the Brainstorm is awkward, because if we put the Brainstorm in our hand, they take the Brainstorm, and then we're Brainstorm locked for 2 turns and do nothing. And if we put the Brainstorm on top and they shuffle, we're at least not Brainstorm locked, and then maybe they take something else. I wonder if we're supposed to put like an Omniscience on top and the Brainstorm, so they see that, and then maybe they take the Omniscience instead of the Emrakul, and then they don't shuffle, then we get the Brainstorm. And we already have the Omniscience. Maybe that's a slightly better. Alright, let's go to round 4. I believe in the power of stock up. I'm going to keep this one. Hedge Maze and pass. I do like Brainstorms, just as in general, so I will keep this on the top. It's just more looks later on. So we're still probably casting a stock up next turn. Unless we think our opponent is going to counter a stock up. Probably not, though. If they burn a counter spell on a stock up. In the world, a Savannah. That is an unusual land to be fetching, especially when they're not doing anything with it. I think we're just going to stock up here. Now this can't be dazed and it has to take 2 cards out of our opponent's hand. I'm cool with that. What if we just wish for more wishes? Let's go Force of Will, stock up. No additional land. Why have our opponent kept their hand? Spreading Seas. Alright, our opponent's cooking over there. Let's cast another stock up. I guess we're taking 2 ponders here. We deploy this Hedge Maze. We can mill this over. And then we're going to go clean up. I think we just get rid of the City of Traitors. Spreading Seas. It's a name I've not heard in a long time. What are we doing over there, opponent? Utopia Sprawl. Oh, it's Enchantress. Okay. This is like just a flex slot to mess with certain lands. I see. It also like cantrips underneath that weird enchantment that keeps flickering. Alright, let's cast a Brainstorm deck, please. Let's put back these 2. Let's play a fetch land and crack it. Get Tropical Island. I think I'm just going to cast a Ponder here. It's more looks at the immediate Emrakul. Any order, shuffle. Are we casting a stock up as well? I think so. Our opponent's probably like, how do you not have it at this point? My thoughts exactly. I will take this Force of Will as well. And then we will discard the Brainstorm at end step, I think. Surely this is going to be good enough. Creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. Alright, I would like to counterspell that one, please. Because if we don't counter this, we can't counter anything else. Hopefully we don't show and tell them in something that just wins them the game. Let's go and get our Omniscience in. On thin ice. You lost your gamble there. They were trying to like snag a creature that we put in. We just high cast Emrakul and then the game is over. We're not going to play this Ponder now, we don't need to. Right. We annihilate all of our opponent's permanents. Enchantress. How do we handle... Oh, they just don't want to play anymore. They've just scooped the entire round there. Oh, scoreboard, we'll take it. Out of curiosity, let's just take a look at our deck. How we sideboard against Enchantress. Couple of Force of Vigors. Maybe Consign has some use there. There's an argument for something like a Harbinger, perhaps, to shut down things like Serra's Sanctum, which is like one of their big payoffs for getting a bunch of enchantments into play. And the Veil of Summer comes out. So it's definitely Veil of Summer out, Force of Vigor in. Is that enough green cards to support Force of Vigor? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's probably enough. We can cast it some of the time as well. Yeah, anyway. I think it's important to think about the things, even though we're not getting there. So we've got one more round to go. Let's see if we can put a 2-3 on the board. Final round. We've got Ponder. We've got Stock Up. I like this. We could Show and Tell and potentially win the game on turn 2 if everything goes to plan. Let's go and get a basic island here. One thing I like about playing like combo decks with cantrips is that you know what you're doing with your Ponders on turn 1. Like you have like a game plan, which I think is cool. I don't really want these cards. I think this is an any orange shuffle situation. Omniscience. Well, we have a chance to try and win the game next turn, but I don't know what our opponent is playing. Thundering Falls. You got it. We have to get through some counter magic here. What is our best way of doing that? Just finding a Force of Will of our own? Like, these cards are all really good. I could stock up now at the cost of 2 cards. I don't really want to do that though. The downside here is if our opponent is a combo deck and goes off next turn, that's going to suck for us. I think we play out the Vista so we have the option of what we're doing next turn. So we've got the stock up on top of our library, which I'm perfectly happy to draw next turn. Like this could be like just a weird slow Delver start, or it could be a Sneak and Show. I think Sneak and Show is probably more likely off of a start like this. Sneak and Show has become a lot better since Hex and Squelcher got printed. And it's sort of had a new little renaissance of doing well, which is cool. Because it basically, since Entomb got banned until the last BNR, it didn't win a single event, which is kind of wild. Right, this Misty Village tells us exactly what our opponent's doing. Do we have the time to stock up, or do we just need to send it here? Problem with Show and Tell is our opponent can put in an Omniscience of their own. And that gets a little sketchy for us. This Misty Village is slow, so I think we probably have another turn if we can find some counter magic. Ponder. They declined. Do I want to just draw a random card here and have a better shot at just being able to go off this turn? I think that's what I want to do here. So we are going to shuffle that away. Because if we draw a Force, maybe we can go here. Do I attempt the win here? Because we stock up, it probably wins us the game. But if we fail to go off, we're just dead. I think we have to stock up here. Let's have a little look. I guess we're probably just taking like... we could take Lotus Petal and just shove right now. No, we can't shove right now, can we? No, we can. If we take Lotus Petal and stock up, we could try and shove right now on the assumption that our opponent's going to kill us next turn. Maybe this is a little bit all in, but we failed to hit our counter magic. So the other option here is to stock up again and look for counter magic. 7 cards in our opponent's hand is so many. This is going to burn all of our green mana for this Aluren. I think we're just going to try and send it here. This could be wrong and it might not do anything. Alright, putting in Omniscience. They put in Mind Over Matter, that's cool. Let's stock up. I will take this Atraxa and this Formidable Speaker, please. I'll play this Atraxa. Just dig a little deeper. Ideally try and find a counter spell here. A Force of Will. I'll take Formidable Speaker. Boseiju, Omniscience, Show and Tell. And now I will cast this Formidable Speaker for free. Then I will discard this forest to go and get Acererak the Archlich. I'll cast this for free. I'm curious if our opponent makes us click through it all. So we enter the dungeons. So this dungeon has one that drains life for 1. So we've demonstrated the infinite loop now. I can't remember which one is which here. But obviously we can go infinitely, so it doesn't matter. Dark Pool, I think, is one that drains life for 1. Yep, there we go. And there is our win condition opponent. Not the nicest one to click through on the old Magic Online. Right, we're just going to try and Emrakul them because it's going to be quicker. I guess we have the Formidable Speaker that finds Emrakul. Actually, we could just do that. And pretty much just click randomly and it's fine. Get rid of this Show and Tell. Can find Emrakul. Cast this Emrakul. Alright, we're just going to go to our next turn because it's going to be the quickest way of winning the game. I like having the Emrakul in here, especially for Magic Online. It's just quicker. Alright, you're going to tap my Emrakul. I'll untap my Emrakul. You can tap it again. And just got another card, I guess. I guess we just have to win with Acererak. Maybe we're supposed to just let that go through. Alright, let's just infinite combo here. I'm making us click through it, but that's, you know, our fault in a lot of ways. If we want to do this, we have to be prepared to have to click through it a bunch of times. But you can yield to all the different triggers, so it gets a little bit quicker. We should have attacked so we don't have to do this as many times. Alright, we're about to do the final loop of this. It's taken a couple of minutes of clicking, but here we are. Into the Goblin Lair one last time. And let's go into the Dark Pool for the final point of damage. Alright, so we could have done that quicker if we realised our opponent wasn't going to be scooping. I could have got some more attacks in or whatever. I just assumed they would scoop. But they didn't, which is fine. Like, they have to make us click it if they want to. It's on us for playing this deck. To the sideboard. So they're doing, like, Mind Over Matter Show and Tells. This has got, like, the One Ring and Mind Over Matter as the things they're trying to do. So I would like these Consigned Memories for the One Ring. Flusterstorm can protect us, which is nice. Carpet Flower is going to be a lot of mana. All these things are also pretty nice. I don't know about the defense grid, because we want to be countering our opponent's stuff as well. The petals maybe just become carpets? Do we just take out Show and Tell, actually, maybe? Maybe that's what we do here. We stop being a Show and Tell deck. Like, we can still keep in these Omnisciences for our opponent's Show and Tells. Is that wild? I kind of like it. We just play as a Aluren deck instead. Because casting Show and Tell can backfire on us for sure. Alright, we'll try like this, just pivoting out of that. Well, if we want to do this plan, we certainly have a hand for it. I don't know if we're supposed to keep a hand that looks like this, though. We don't have green-green either. I think we mulligan. Well, is this one we're keeping? We've got a Ponder. I don't really like this Omniscience, but maybe we can pitch it to a Force of Will or Brainstorm at some point. Maybe this is a bit of a loose one to keep, but I like the fact that we have the fast mana to help power stuff out. And we've got a green source. Ponder from our opponent, you got it. Right, it's our turn to ponder. Yes, all of these. Oh, I misclicked that one slightly. Well. So we don't need the Hedge Maze specifically here. Alright, are we popping off? Is it the One Ring? It is the One Ring. I'm cool with the One Ring for now. Obviously, this is a lot of juice. Can't really do anything about it with the Boseiju. So top card of our library is Formidable Speaker, so I don't really want to Hedge Maze that, but we do want to get this land in right now, so I think I will do that still. We're probably going to get buried by this One Ring, though. Brainstorm from our opponents. So we can just jam the Aluren next turn, but we lose to any counter spells. We could wait a turn and have the Aluren with the backup of Veil of Summer. Alright, cycling Aluren revealed. Also, if they cast Show and Tell, we put in the Aluren and win in response to whatever they're doing. Albeit a quite lengthy clicking process. But our opponent might scoop if they see that we have enough time. Yeah, I don't think we just play out the Aluren here. It's too easy to go wrong. The way our opponent beats us is likely to be Show and Tell. I don't know if the Mind Over Matter builds are running Sneak Attack. It could be a pivot they have, I don't know. They're just going to play a Mind Over Matter this turn. Potentially. I think it's what, 6 mana? 2 and 4 blue. So we need a Lotus Petal to do so. Show and Tell. I'm going to cast a Veil of Summer first. And a Force of Will. So we put in the Aluren, this gives us Flash, which we don't have off the Omniscience. I guess we try to Boseiju this right now. And we try and go off over the top. Yeah, they should just be able to win this game from this point. because they get to draw their entire deck now because of how these two cards interact. But what is their win condition? If they find a counterspell and just counterspell our Formidable Speaker, that also works. We can't just let them draw their deck and then interact with it. I am curious what their win condition is. You go ahead. I really like this combo, it's really cool. Alright, so they're using Mind Over Matter now to untap lands, so they might be hard casting something. This will allow them to just cast on Omniscience at some point as well. Cunning Wish. They have Shared Summons, Born Upon a Wind. Alright, so that's how they're going to get through this. So they probably just win the game here. I think we can just F6 and just see what our opponent's plan is. I'm just curious to see what their win condition is, because this is quite a fringe version of the Show and Tell deck. Alright, so they've cast Born Upon a Wind. So now all their stuff has flash. Alright, so they're casting Show and Tell. I guess we put in Omniscience. So now they can Emrakul. Okay, so I'm just doing that sort of normal stuff. Now that we've seen your win condition, I will skip. I will not make you click through it all. You are welcome, opponents. I think we're right to play it as we did. And we don't want the Show and Tells. We're just going to go in with this Aluren. Feels like Show and Tell can just cost us games, because they can put in Omniscience and maybe blank whatever we're trying to cast after the Omniscience. And they are draw my entire deck, win the game sort of thing. So if we like play Omniscience where they have Mind Over Matter in play, and they put in the One Ring, we can just die. Okay, I like this a lot. So Carpet of Flowers can give us a bunch of mana for next turn. Let's go get ourselves a Tropical Island. Let's ponder. Aluren is one of the cards we're after here. So let's keep this Consign as well, because the Consign allows us to beat the One Ring, because we can counter it on the way down. Alright, an Ancient Tomb. So not playing into my Carpet. A little bit rude, unfortunately. Let's move some stuff around with this Brainstorm. I don't think we need this Ancient Tomb if we've got the Carpet, because getting multiple green is really handy. We don't need all of these lands. We can put one of them back. We could just put this Ancient Tomb back as well. And then we can deploy this Misty Rainforest. And I will play out this Lotus Petal so that we have the ability to Fluster and Consign. And then we're going to be in the stock up phase of the game. We can go and get Hedge Maze, get a little bit more selection going. This is not an island, so our Carpet isn't actually doing the work we want it to do here. Kind of regret not putting the Carpet back now, because we could have kept the Ancient Tomb. Yeah, I'm quite happy to have Brainstorms flying around. Try and secure a land drop, please. We did not secure a land drop. Well, that is an awkward one. I guess we're just putting these two stock ups on top of our library for now. And we'll pass. This way, if they Show and Tell, we might be able to Allure in our way to victory. They're going to have to be very careful when they Show and Tell. I suspect they will be very careful as well. We're not just going to get a free lunch off of them. But maybe we get a free lunch when we get the Flusterstorm involved. Polluted Delta. You got it, opponent. I'm going to play a Carpet of Flowers here. It gives us mana for next turn. You're going to get your Thundering Falls. They did not. So they might not be ready to go this turn, so they're going to wait a little bit longer, so they're going to deny us mana for a few turns. Seems like a smart move. I could cast this stock up. That leaves us pretty shields down, unfortunately, so I don't think we get to do that. Yeah, if we had kept the Ancient Tomb instead of this Carpet of Flowers, I think we'd have been A-okay here. Hopefully that's not going to come back to bite us. An island. Thank you, opponent. I'm glad that you would do that for us. This probably means they're going for something this turn. So it's like the One Ring. I can consign this with Replicate. Please don't Flusterstorm. It just takes so long resolving a Flusterstorm on a Flusterstorm. Can't be dealing with that one. Okay, that isn't what happened. I think we have this game then because of the tools we have at our disposal and the fact that they've unlocked our Carpet. So now this is adding 3 mana and we're feeling great. Yes, we'll add 3 green mana, please. Here's my Aluren. I will force your Force. A red Elemental Blast on my Force of Will. Okay. Now I will Flusterstorm your Force of Will, please. Do you have a Flusterstorm here, opponent? So this comes in. Oh, they have another Force of Will. Okay. Our opponent is Hellbent. and we have a stock up. So I think that favours us in a big way. Cunning Wish. What are you going to get here? Surgical Extraction. Are you going to surgically extract my Aluren? Yeah, that's kind of awkward. I guess they're on Formidable Speaker Beatdown. It's as good a plan as any. Actually, how much mana do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're 4 mana away from casting Omniscience. So we're probably just doing Formidable Speaker Beatdown. So yes to this. I would like some green mana, please. I will cast this Formidable Speaker. I'll bin off this Omniscience, I think. Go and get a Formidable Speaker. Play Formidable Speaker. Discard the stock up. Get Formidable Speaker. How formidable are these speakers going to be is the question. Another Formidable Speaker. So we attack for 4 and then we attack for 6. So we have a 2-turn clock. Our opponent is Hellbent and they are an A+B combo. They do have the One Ring in their deck, which is a real doozy. A land. Not the one you wanted there, opponent. So we say yes. Have some green mana again. Cast this guy. Cast this guy as well. So this plays around Sink into Stupor. So our opponent needs to top deck the One Ring, I think. A good old C plan of just attacking with my 2/4 guys. Alright, opponent, you've got 1 draw and it needs to be the One Ring. I don't know what else they can have that gets them out of this bind. They put 1 card on top of their library. That probably means it's a cantrip, so they've got more looks. That would be my guess. Oh no, it was just the One Ring. I'll just hold this in hand, I think. We can't target them with Carpet Flower, so it doesn't trigger. Alright, this is the turn you got to go off. So Mind Over Matter is good for them. Can they cast an Omniscience? Probably not. They're in the Ponder trying to dig phase, which is good for us. They didn't shuffle off the Ponder. Does that mean they found another cantrip? Or have they got the Mind Over Matter here? Like, our opponent had a 1 in 3 chance of not losing this game when they had the draw that got them the One Ring. Sorry, they had... Yeah, so this gives them infinite card draw now. I think we are just dead. Alright, they just have the Emrakul as well. We can survive and hit from the Emrakul though, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we have enough damage on the clapback. They also... Oh, okay, they discarded the Emrakul. So they get to just draw their whole deck here. They probably have a Cunning Wish combo line. We just let our opponent click through it and see if they got some cool, spicy thing to finish the game with. But it looks like we're probably losing this one. So what they're doing here is they're now adding mana. So they're going to be able to hard cast something like an Emrakul. Or an Omniscience, and then they can cast the Emrakul. But we're not dead to a single Emrakul hit, but the One Ring does kill them on the next... Okay, the One Ring doesn't kill them anymore. But if they attack us with an Emrakul, they need to do something else. Atraxa. That is good enough. I will scoop to that. Because we know they've got an Emrakul they can dig out of their deck as well. Okay, a pretty poor show up for the deck. The only one we won was against the Enchantress deck where they kind of scooped. But we did have 3 very close rounds. I think 9 times out of 10 we're going to beat the Cradle Control deck, but it just wasn't one of our games that time. So even though the record isn't amazing, I think we were close in the games with us. Like this one, they had to draw the One Ring that turn or they were dead, and they happened to. And that's just going to happen sometimes. And they also had like triple counter spells on our go turn. So, what do I think of this list? I think it's pretty good, but I do think it does have some weaknesses. So, by being a 2-color deck with a bunch of colorless lands, your mana base does get spread a little bit thin. And we definitely had people that were preying upon us doing that. So, like the Felia deck was very good at being able to chip away whatever stuff we had going on and make it so we just couldn't really play the game. There are a lot of other show and tell decks in the format right now, like Sneak and Show is still around. There's other omni-tell decks. There's people doing Blue Black Reanimator, which is obviously not where you want to be showing telling into a lot of the time. Although generally speaking, when we show and tell, we at least make a good effort to win the game that turn. So I don't hate that too much for us. The deck is really sweet. I do feel that sometimes it's tricky to get the green-green, especially if you're against a Wasteland deck, because then you kind of have to sandbag one of these lands and hope you get there with it. You kind of want all your lands to be making green mana as well as making blue mana. But you also want to be playing on basics some of the time. Maybe we're just not supposed to play on basics at all, and maybe we're supposed to get cut one of these islands and get a third trop in there and just play more heavily to the green side of things and just say, if you got the Wasteland, you got the Wasteland. Maybe that also means you cut the Prismatic Vista as well. I don't really like the Prismatic Vista here. I understand it's a thing that gets both of our basics, but I don't think that's necessarily where I want to be. Maybe we just lean into the non-basic, because so much of our mana base is Wastelandable anyway, and we're playing a bunch of soul lands. I think it's nice to have access to the first island. Sometimes the forest is good, but you need 2 forests to get your Aluren going. But I think the deck is very sweet. I do like having Emrakul in the build. Some of the original builds that came out didn't have the Emrakul. They were just playing 4 Atraxa, but I do think having the Emrakul is just a nice, simple, clean line that you have that wins you the game quite often. And show and telling in an Emrakul is more often than not going to be good enough because it doesn't get picked up by removal, whereas Atraxa quite often does. Yeah, I think the deck is sweet. We didn't have the best showing for it. I think we actually showcased some of the weaknesses of this deck, which is, you know, good to showcase as well. And I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think about it. Let me know what you think about me changing up what we're doing with midweek meta decks. So we're not always just playing a deck that won a tournament. We're playing like an interesting deck that top 8'd. So that we're at least getting to see more interesting decks. So hopefully the views go up because, you know, doing a trophy league with like Sneak and Shown and basically nobody watching it feels a bit pointless from my end. So there we are. All right. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month as well as regular articles, and lastly the higher tier gives you all of the above as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.